Hi, welcome to Digital Learning. I'm Connie Kolosey, Director of Media Text and Digital Learning for Pinellas County Schools, and we have a very interesting show here today where we are going to visit Ridgecrest Elementary, and I have colleagues of mine, Stacey Pellerin-Vanderloop and Sarah Truelson, and they went out on a visit at Ridgecrest. Stacey, how did you hear that we might want to visit Ridgecrest?
So I was out there meeting with the library media specialist, and we were looking at her projectors, getting them wired so that the teachers could project wirelessly.
So let's back up a bit. These are projectors that are attached to their smart boards, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
In
so the smart
that
boards are
sense.
great because we can go up and touch them, but we also want not to be tethered to them, right?
Right, the shark in the water type theory. So
Okay,
the
so the teacher's the shark.
Yeah.
So she can circulate the classroom and keep teaching. She doesn't have to be standing right there at her presentation station. So that's a worthy goal, and you were there working on that.
Yes, and then we were exchanging ideas about how teachers could integrate technology into their curriculum more. And she said, hey, I want to show you this cool thing I'm doing with some of the kids at Ridgecrest.
All right, and so we have a video clip of Donna, the library media technology specialist there at Ridgecrest, and she explains to us what she's doing with makerspace in her library.
Makerspace fits really comfortably with my philosophy of hands-on, experiential, creativity type of learning. So I try to get as many opportunities as possible available for the kids to be able to express themselves in different ways. So I brought the Makerspace program in as an opportunity for the kids to come in and demonstrate their understanding of what they're learning in the classroom through Makerspace activities. So the teachers bring the class in and we just do an introduction. So we have all the different, not all, but many of the different types of materials that we have available in the Makerspace. We have those available for the kids to just kind of have a free play time. And sometimes they do just need hands-on free play time with it. And then after that, we talk about how can you use that tool that you use during Makerspace to show what you know. So the next time they come in, the teacher has a specific goal. Today you're going to come in and you're going to show how a plant grows. And as they come, they know that they are going to come in and they're going to show how a plant grows. So they have a rubric. The teacher and I work together to make a rubric. The rubric, we demonstrate the rubric, we go over the rubric with the kids and say, this is how we can tell whether or not you've been successful with your project. And we continue to have that up and remind them, but then they're working with making it something with a poster or making something with video or making something with the Makey Makey to be able to show their understanding of that particular concept and make sure that that is meeting the needs of the rubric. They have an hour to come in to spend doing a project. This group was doing a community service project to serve our school community. So one of the students, Davis, came to me and said, Mrs. Hall, we're going to come to you and we're going to do some coding in the library. And I said, how is that community service? And he said, oh, we're going to make it community service. So he came to me and he said, we're going to do this project. So he went back and told his teacher that we were going to do this project. So I told him I didn't know that that was really community service because they do also do coding. But I thought about it. We had gotten these new materials in. The Makey Makeys were some of the materials that we got in. And I said to the kids, all right, let's see if we can figure this out together. So I sent home Makey Makeys with the kids. And I just said, take it home and see if you can figure out how to use it. They came back and told me that they didn't even have to connect it to a computer, but they could tell what things were conductive and what things didn't work right. So we talked about conductive and insulative properties of materials. After we did just kind of playing with it, then we actually made paper circuits and talked about how the paper we could make our own circuit on paper. So we took just copper wire and lights and a battery, and we made circuits that worked. Some of them worked and some of them didn't. So there was a whole lot of experiential kind of things with circuitry that wasn't part of their curriculum, but I know that they'll have a better understanding of circuits when they get into 5th grade, and that's part of their curriculum. So they each got to be successful with just making a light up. Then we took that and connected it to the Makey Makey with the banana piano. But we took the banana piano and we made a piano with the planets of the solar system. So the planets of the solar system, they had to know which planet it was, because they had to know that if they touched on, if we said Earth, that they would play that particular note. So that we played with with taking that into something that wasn't just the banana, and made it the solar system. So they took that project and made it into a curriculum or learning related project. After they did the learning related project that I had focused on, then they got to start thinking about their own projects. So what did they want to show that they had learned this year so far in class? So they chose different projects that were closer aligned to their interest. And some of them even made things like a piano where they could share that information. They could help the little kids learn their alphabet letters by taking uppercase and lowercase letters and connecting that with their learning. So they could not only show what they knew, but they could also make a project to help somebody else learn as well.
Wow, so it is the students really that brought this idea and sparked this with her. She mentioned a young man named Davis, and you guys came back so excited about this child. Let's hear from Davis.
I was obsessed with crafting and coding since I was a little kid. I always was obsessed why computers would like do all these sites, and I was like, how does this do? And then I was like, and then I kept motivating myself to keep coding, and it was very, very intense. First, Mrs. Hall told me to go onto this site, and I was like, what's this site called? Makey Makey? What in the world is that? Maybe I should just go on this site and see. And it was very fun. It was like I got all of this Makey Makey stuff to go do, and I was like, this and this and that and that. It was kind of fun, very fun. I think that it's a good opportunity to mix with coding and learning for kids to actually get that computer thing they need and also learn at the same time without even have to look at a computer.
So that's great. Davis is in 3rd grade, and he's explaining to us how things were back when he was a kid.
I know.
So we did get a chance to talk to some other students, and they were telling us about their experience. What are we going to hear from them?
So now you're going to hear the kids talk about their work with Makey Makey and how it has improved their learning and understanding.
Okay.
And I just want to add, one of the big things about this clip is Donna's really worked hard to make the makerspace not just a one-time visit that kids get to go to once a month, but she's working with their teachers to really integrate it throughout the day in lots of different ways to really take advantage of that investment and those tools.
So you know, we on Digital Learning have talked about Makerspace quite a bit. Laura Woods has come on, our program coordinator for library media, and we've interviewed some of our LMTs at various schools. But just in case someone isn't following all those episodes, let's what is Makerspace real briefly?
So basically the concept of a makerspace is kind of honing in on this idea that kids and people in general are creators. And so rather than always doing the same kind of activities that we typically think of in school, like doing an essay or taking a quiz, it's starting to branch out into other ways of kids demonstrating their learning. So either by using a 3D printer and creating a model or a bust of the president, or having them create a project with tools like the Makey Makey kits, where they're creating circuitry and learning that at the same time as demonstrating their knowledge. And it's not always technology pieces, sometimes it's more craft. So they may be creating cards to demonstrate what they've learned or to do something as a community project for other people.
All right, well, let's hear from the kids on their experience with Makerspace and Makey Makey at Ridgecrest Elementary.
My Big Dipper project I worked with Lucas on, and apparently the project was like very intense. We had a few mishaps along the way, but it was very very intense coding. It was like coding without the computer coding. Kinda. He did the coding without the computer coding. I did the computer coding because I always wanted to do the computer coding.
How does it work? Well, how does your Big Dipper work?
Well, I'll show you. We labeled all of this, and so we put little letter stickers here. And so we hold down ground. We can show you the intro if you'd like. So this is just like this.
Our names are Davis and Lucas.
Lucas said that. He said Davis and he said Lucas. This is just information. The end of it is very fuzzy, so first touch ground non-connected bread and touch so it's like this. So like this, you hold down ground, which basically gives you an electrical current that only you can have unless you're touching that person. So if I touched your hand, you could touch it and it would make the sound. So it goes through the electrical current to the final one that wraps around the circuit. This circuit isn't complete yet, but if I complete it with my body, then it will get more like, it's kind of like this.
This star is called Alkaid. This star is called Mesoth. This star is called Alioth. This star is called Megrez.
Megrez turned out a bit funny.
This star is called Dubhe. This star is called Merak. They are the creators.
Oh, I accidentally hit intro too.
We put in some brads and we connected it to some copper tape right around here. So when you press the ground, it'll name the star for you. And we had to tape it down so the connection's good. And I put some sticker letters for the Big Dipper because, yeah. And we named all the stars in the order that we got it from Google. And we didn't intro because it was just so you know what our names are, a bit about our project, what to do when you get it, or when you do it.
So first you collected the research.
Well, we did all this stuff first, and then we did the research. When we put the alligator clips on, I don't know why, but it just made the random noise, the noise that it's supposed to tell you from the computer when we first got it in. We connected it to the Makey Makey, and we pressed ground, held for example, we held Alkaid, and it says this star is called Alkaid. We put in the brad, and then we had to, since there was a small bit of room from here to there, we didn't have that one. Since there was a bit of room left, we had to make it really tight. So we had to, since there was a lot of room, we put I had to get two pieces because I didn't know what would happen because it would probably touch this one.
So you don't want it to touch.
So that's why I have two pieces, starting, and it can't touch the other one unless because if we do intro, then it will name that star at the same time, and it won't really sound like how it was at the first time. So that's why there's two pieces of tape.
We thought of some ideas to write down for the speech I was going to say on the recording. We tried a couple of them, and then the last one was the best one. So we wrote it down, and then I spoke into the recording, and it sounded really good.
What are some things that you've created in the makerspace?
So for these projects, we made a butterfly life cycle project, which is on Scratch. It's right here. And then we also did a piano project, which is the alphabet piano.
Okay, so you hold
Earth, and then egg.
press
The first one's egg. Wait, let me turn up the volume.
Mother butterfly lays the egg. Then, when the time comes, the egg hatches.
And then Earth. And then
When the butterfly eggs hatch, tiny little baby caterpillars come out. Also, when they hatch, the mom butterfly goes away. The next part is the cocoon.
The first part was doing all the designs on here, like this. And then we did the coding. And the next step was wiring with the copper tape and brads. And then I made, for an extra, this direction page. This is the alphabet piano, so we printed out the title and then colored it and customized it. And we made the code, and this is very complicated. And that's the wiring on this one.
Why is it complicated?
Because it's very hard to put on, because you need to put in the brads like this, they can't touch. And this is a different kind, because that one, on the butterfly life cycle, you had to touch earth and another one. But on this one, you just have to touch both at the same time. And that's the complicated part, because you need to connect all of them together like this, and it needs to go like this, and it needs to connect to this spot, which is where the earth goes. And then all these, the ones need to go here.
We talked with those little different groups of kids, and they were given an assignment, but the product was so different. Each one conceived of it differently. So what else are the kids learning as they work with Makey Makey?
I think one of the biggest pieces that kids learn when you kind of bend them towards the direction of creation with tools like Makey Makey or other ones is this idea that the first time I do something, it might not end up perfect. And it's a little harder to sometimes see that in other types of assignments. So it kind of builds that resiliency with them. So they're learning that they, have to be creative in their thinking of how they express themselves and tell the story of what they know. But it also kind of gives them that little bit of, okay, that didn't work out. How am I going to fix this? How can I go back and make this work? And because they're so engaged and they're loving it, it's not hard to kind of poke them to go back and try to think of a different way to go at the problem.
Yeah, we're really working with kids to teach them the stamina to struggle with their learning, and we know that the true learning comes from the struggle. So we got to talk with one of the kids about the struggle. Let's hear from Maddie.
I was doing cultures, and there's a lot of cultures in the world, and me and my partner, Donna, which is not here today, we had planned it to be quite a few of them, but then we noticed that it was quite a bit, so we came up with the idea of sea animals. We ended up making sounds on Scratch with their names and what they were famous for and some information about them. And when we did, I mostly did that, and it was like the second to last day when we noticed, we need to change our subject. So we did it quite late, so Sedona wasn't there that day, so I had to make the sounds and the bites all by myself. But they still turned out okay, and then when I made the wrong sounds and they got messed up, we lost this one on one day, so we remade it together, and then that's the one that we're using now.
What happened when something didn't work right or something wasn't connected the right way?
I would look through and see what's wrong and then fix it and then see if it works, and if it doesn't, then keep on trying.
When something didn't go right, I keep on trying. What a great attitude. Really, there's a lot of lessons for life in that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So As elementary teacher, and you're recently out of the classroom, what are some things that you see happening there with the learning, the kids' attitudes? You know, what's going on here besides making cool things?
Well, I like how the students have really taken ownership of their own learning. I'm seeing a lot more of that in the schools that I visit, and it's very powerful to see them just owning their own learning. I know that this particular situation, Davis had went to Miss Hall, the library media specialist, and said, I want to do a service project. And at first she was like, how is this going to be a service project? But it did turn out to be a service project in the end, because they're making digital tools that teach other kids about information and what they're learning. So it did turn out to be a service project.
You know, and the the one young lady was explaining to us, and it really, I mean, this is the way life goes. Well, we were working on this, and then we couldn't find the thing we made, and then we had to start again, and now, you know, this new thing is even better. So coming back to that resiliency idea. And so we did also talk with the kids about what they think about this kind of learning. So let's hear some more from them.
I love doing all this creativity stuff because it makes you smarter and it helps build your education with technology and coding, and that's what I love about it.
Well, you can learn more using technology.
I believe it has changed their learning because it gives them the opportunity to kind of concretize their understanding. It helps them to be able to take that book learning or even the experiential learning that they have in the classroom and be able to have their hands-on and personal experience with that information. So with the makerspace in general, I give the kids an opportunity to make a video or make a stop motion animation or make a poster that lets them practice their learning and then demonstrate what they've learned to share with their classmates, share with each other, and to be able to do something that's a little bit deeper than just writing a paragraph about what they learned or taking a test. When I taught kindergarten, there was a whole lot of hands-on learning, hands-on play. When I started working with the makerspace, it gave me an opportunity to have the kids have more physical experiences with the materials that they're using to show their learning. Human beings are creators. Human beings make. That's one of the strengths that we have. We can be creative, and then we can also take and turn it into something that shows that you've been able to express yourself in some different way.
In watching this, I can see that they have a lot of equipment and
Yes.
things there, and you know, I don't know where all that came from, and I'm wondering how a person watching might get started with a concept if they don't have all that at their fingertips.
I would say definitely one of the things that you can do to get started, and I've been to a few schools in Pinellas and in other districts where they're starting by kind of gathering some of those things that you might even see in an art classroom. So you can start by kind of pulling together some of those extra little items you may have around your house. And I know Donna mentioned, and we've talked about kind of reaching out to families to say, do you have any extra like pipe cleaners and little odds and ends, magazines, all that kind of stuff sitting around the house, old cell phones, old radios that you could donate to our makerspace, and they can kind of start building it from there and start with some of those hands-on projects. Schools do sometimes get funds through the library media funds, so they can use some of that for makerspace. I know that Laura Woods has been very supportive about trying to find those big items that are sometimes a little more expensive and trying to sprinkle those throughout the media centers so that they've got
I'll
a spot
jump in
to
there.
start.
That is a way that
Yeah.
our Pinellas County referendum has been supporting our library media
Exactly.
centers. And I don't know about this particular set of equipment, but I do know that we have really given every single school library some starting points for Makey Makey.
And some of them are more expensive than others. The Makey Makey kits are usually start around $50. So you can get some that aren't outrageously expensive. certainly a 3D printer is going to be the higher end and might be the last thing you add. I know some schools who've written grants or done things to the Ed Foundation to get some additional funds to add to that. PTA sales, all of those, you know, cool ways to do it.
You know, one of the things I heard a student say was, you know, something about technology and learning technology helps us learn better.
Yes.
And, you know, we work in the world of technology, and we tend to think technology itself is the great thing. But I think, talk just a minute about how it's not the technology, it's what we do with it.
Yeah, and I would say my biggest takeaway that I love about the whole makerspace and maker movement is this idea that the technology is great, but it's the activities and the thought and the thinking and the process that makes it amazing. You know, this computer is lovely, but if I'm not putting my own thoughts and my creativity and ideas into what I'm doing with it, then it's just a box sitting on the table. So I think it's kind of sparking to kids that you can do so much more than just be a passive participant with using that technology. You can actually start thinking of ways to make it do things for you and using it in ways you didn't even think of. I think that's what makes it amazing.
I saw this at FETC, and I remember it was, the Makey Makey was a banana piano, and I remember thinking to myself, how is this educationally relevant? But you see how this Makey Makey has grown into so many things. One group of students made something about the solar system, another one about the parts of the ocean, one used it as a piano. So it's not limited by the tool, it's the kids' creativity. It could go anywhere.
So good point. You know, you think, oh, well, big deal. You can make, you know, it's kind of cool. You can make a piano out of a banana.
Right.
But why would you?
Right, exactly.
Why would you not?
Why would you not? See, there you go. We're limited in our own thinking. Well, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and we've enjoyed visiting Donna Hall and her media center and with her students and Davis and Maddie and all the others. And we'll look forward to scoping out some other cool things for us to visit. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us. And come back next time when we'll have more exciting things happening out in the Pinellas County schools.